the relationship that we now have with the American Red Cross. As of June of this year, we were able to sign an agreement with the Red Cross around disaster preparedness with a real particular focus on older adults and caregiving. And I will tell you, so far, it has been an amazing relationship, and we've been able to do some really amazing things together. So I'm very excited about that. But I'm going to keep my comments very short because Mary's got a lot of really great volunteer opportunities with the American Red Cross to share with you. So without further ado, I turn this over to Mary.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm very excited about this partnership with AARP. And thank you for inviting American Red Cross to this event to showcase the many opportunities Red Cross has to offer those who wish to volunteer. And I will start to share my screen. Here we go. And here we go. And Flora, if you can just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see and hear you. You're all good to go.
Great. Thank you so much. So again, thank you AARP for inviting us. Again, my name is Mary Casey Lockyer, and I lead the Disaster Health Services Program at National Headquarters. I apologize for my background. It's quite dark here, but I hope you can see a little bit of my face. We want you to know that Red Cross values the skills, knowledge, and experience that nurses bring to the table as volunteers. I always like to start with the American Red Cross mission. The American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. And the founder of Red Cross, Clara Barton, although not a trained nurse, acted as a nurse on many battlefields and used her leadership skills to establish this wonderful organization. A little bit about our structure. I'm going to put this down here for a minute. So as you can see here, we have 6 divisions and 50 regions. We have the Pacific Division over here. We have the Southwest and Rocky Mountain Division in the middle here, North Central, up in the upper Midwest, Central Atlantic, Northeast, and the Southeast and Caribbean. I'm hopeful you can remember that we've had Hurricane Sandy, we've had Hurricane Florence, we now have Hurricane Ian. When you start to look at how much coastline Red Cross covers, and of course Ida and many others in Louisiana, Baton Rouge flooding, etc. Also, we had Hurricane Harvey in Texas and wildfires on and off all the way up the Pacific coast. Now, this area here, also the Pacific Division, includes Alaska, Hawaii, and Northern Mariana Islands and America Samoa. So quite a lot of territory here. And the Southeastern Caribbean area includes Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we have a very, very diverse area all across the contiguous United States, plus the territories and islands that are under the auspices of the United States, so all over. We also have territories within our regions. Some regions are very large. You can see there's 3 regions in Texas, but we have territories within those regions, which are essentially chapters, and that is where you will start your volunteer journey. I'm going to talk a little bit about the service lines that we have. So we have disaster cycle services, which is we provide 60% of the sheltering in the nation. And you might not know that the Federal Emergency Management Agency does not shelter, but communities, counties, parishes, states, and the American Red Cross do the sheltering. So we also have 60,000 responses to home fires a year across the nation. We have blood services, which provides 40% of the United States blood supply. We have training services, which offers various trainings from lifeguarding to advanced cardiac life support. We also have international services, which deploys rapid response teams. Now, they do not deploy medical professionals as healthcare providers. but they all provide communication specialists and money transfer specialists. Now, nurses have a myriad of skills, and you just might qualify for that program. We also have a very long history of service to the armed forces. We have a host of programs with the active duty military and the veterans. I'm going to go into each one of those service lines and talk a little bit about the opportunities that are there. Red Cross responds to disasters, again, as I said, from single family fires to large events like Hurricane Ian. We are now estimating that there are 20,000 homes with major damage or destruction. So we have been at this now for about 6.5 weeks, and we will continue well into December for that response. Disaster health services in disaster provides care in shelters, but also replaces medications and durable medical equipment, and really assists clients to traverse the often confusing U.S. healthcare system. It can sometimes be very difficult to replace medication if it's quote unquote too soon to renew. We provide health education at all levels of response, and we also provide assistance to our fellow volunteers if they need help with an illness or injury during responses. And I think that's a very little known function that licensed healthcare providers provide in the Red Cross. RNs have full scope of practice, but advanced practice RNs and nurse practitioners do not have prescriptive authority in Red Cross. We are a self-insured organization, and I know that you all can imagine how credentialing and licensure verification would have to be increased, and it's very, very expensive. I'm going to go on to blood services. As I said, Red Cross provides 40% of the U.S. blood supply, and there are many opportunities to volunteer as a blood ambassador to assist donors through the process, and screeners to assist donors prior to their donation, and also to assist clients on the collection floor in some states that require an RN to be on the collection floor for any reactions. We also have training services. We need volunteer instructors. Our training services offers training from CPR to advanced cardiac life support, and a myriad of other offerings such as lifeguarding to stop the bleed or hands-on only CPR. You will receive some train the trainer training, I guess, to be certified as a trainer. And this is a great opportunity to give back to the community. I talked a little bit about international services. We are connected with the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent. And although we don't send medical professionals in their healthcare capacity internationally, we do send communication specialists and money transfer specialists abroad. Now, since nurses have an array of skills sets that you might qualify for this work. We also teach humanitarian law. And I know that nurses have great teaching skills. And each one of the International Federation of the Red Cross or Red Crescent has slightly different roles and skills that they provide. So Israel, Germany, the Philippines, Canada, and Mexico do send healthcare professionals to international events, but the American Red Cross does not. But there's a lot of other opportunities to use your nursing skills in lots of areas. We also have a long history of partnering with the military and the veterans. And in service to the armed forces opportunities, we have something called a Hero Care Network, which assists military families in need of emergency communications. I know that I experienced this at the hospital when I was a supervisor and got a call from the Red Cross that there needed to be an emergency communication that an active duty deployed individual that his grandfather was passing away, and they needed a little more information so he could be released to come home. But I don't think I would have known about that if I wasn't a Red Cross volunteer. And, you know, those supervisors, they're kind of stingy with information that they give out. but I knew what I could give out and what I couldn't, and it was very helpful to that family. We also have Military and Veteran Caregiver Network, which is for some families about caregiving, also resilience training, and providing comfort and care when active duty come back to military installations. There is a menu of hospital programs, both at the Veterans Administration medical centers and at the military treatment centers, all the way from hospitality carts to hands-on care in certain facilities. Long, long history with the service to the armed forces. We also have, and I don't want to neglect this because this is part of what AARP helps with, is nurses on boards. There's plenty of opportunities for board seats, both at the chapter and regional level. And really, nurses bring that really public health, community health mindset to those boards, which is sometimes missing with general populations. And so you are of great value to bring the idea of a broad definition of health to our board, both at the chapter and regional level. I'll talk a little bit now about your path to volunteering. You need to go to redcross.org. You see a link here, www.redcross.org/volunteer today. That will get you to the page where there is priority positions. And of course, since we're still in response, some of those positions would be in disaster. But really what I would encourage you to do is get to the application, fill out the application, and then you will get a volunteer services interview. And then they'll lay out all of what I have talked about as a menu for you to pick what really interests you. And I really encourage you to do that. So get beyond that priority positions and get into the application process. You will have a background check at that time. Again, I'll hear, this is my contact information. I know I have a long Red Cross email, but I wanted to honor my maiden name. So please take down, if you have any questions, you can certainly call or email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And now we'll go see if there's any questions. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And get back to the chat. So please ask any questions. If you could put them in the chat, that's great. Otherwise, raise your hand and come off mute. That'd be great. In the other two sessions, I just want to say, this is Mary again. I just want to say there was 2 questions about licensure. And I will tell you, in disaster work, you need to have an active and unencumbered license. In other service lines, I'm not sure about biomed. If you're on the collection floor, you might have to have an active license. But in some of the other service lines, a retired license is just fine. But in disaster, if you're deploying to an event, you need an active unencumbered license. Or if you're helping with that disaster action team, you still need an active or unencumbered license.
You have plenty of time to ask Mary any questions you've got. I do encourage you to really consider the Red Cross as a volunteer opportunity. It is one of the most rewarding things I've done, and it's certainly helped to keep me sane in retirement. The question, Mary, is, are there opportunities to volunteer with an inactive license?
Yes, actually, there are in many of the service lines. Training, you don't have to have an active license to give a training. We have a lot of preparedness activities. We have two wonderful programs called the Pillowcase Project, where we teach 2nd to 5th graders how to prepare for various types of disasters. We also have Prepare with Pedro, which is just a fun class with our little penguin, and Prepare with Pedro is just so much fun. Everybody likes to do that. You certainly don't have to have an active license to do that. And you'd be a great asset for that preparedness training.
The next question that's come through is, how do you get involved to serve on a board? And I'll just give you my experience, if you don't mind. And that is that when I retired and I moved from Los Angeles to Riverside County, I literally just knocked on the door and said, I'd like to get involved at the board level. They were ecstatic. They fell over, played dead. No, just joking, and said, absolutely. So it depends upon your area. But if you're asking about boards in general, again, the Nurses on Boards Coalition is a great place, AARP, and contact the Red Cross to see what else there is. The question is, living in a rural area, is a blood mobile about all that would be local? Each area in terms of blood drives, in terms of biomed, is run independently. As an example, here in Riverside County, a very large area, I live in the Coachella Valley section. We do not have Red Cross donor sites within our area because it's too far from the processing area. Every area is different. So you're going to have to start exactly what Mary said, go to the main volunteer nurse area, then they will direct you to the specialty that you're interested in your regional area.
And just to add to that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in rural areas. Of course, support to our disaster action teams is very tricky in rural areas because they have to go long distances. But you can support as disaster health services in a more virtual method. In other words, on call on your phone. And you can still do that work, and it is very much needed. Also, we have responses to wildfires, very much needed there. Preparedness education, all of that is very much needed, along with training services. Stop the bleed, hands only CPR, that can be taught in very rural areas. So please consider volunteering, even if you live in a very rural area. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Wow. Actually, I was there between Thanksgiving and Christmas, Valerie, as the lead for health services. And I do know that we had our volunteers paired up with the Department of Health, and it was a great experience for both. And so thank you very much for your thank you. I'm looking at this other, you do not need a master's degree to serve on the board. Yes, that is very clear. Thank you for that answer. Appreciate it. And how are we on time there, Flora?
We got about 4 more minutes.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, I think there are some closing remarks.
Yes, there are.
So I think we'll leave. And if you go back to the main platform and just stand by, there will be some closing remarks. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate all of you and looking forward to seeing your names on my list. Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.